Hey guys, it's Jen. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing some dinner ideas with you. In this video, there are 6 dinner ideas, 1 breakfast idea, and 1 dessert idea that includes homemade ice cream. Here are some of the meals I'm going to share with you. We have some grilled chicken wraps. One night I made a roast turkey breast with mashed potatoes and carrots that was so delicious. An idea for some grilled protein and a salad and roasted potatoes. I'm going to be sharing a recipe for Reese's peanut butter cup ice cream and a simple idea for BLTs and fries. Okay, so to get started, we are going to marinate some chicken breast. So this has been one of my go-tos lately ever since the weather has gotten nicer outside. We've been liking to use the grill a lot more, and I really like these marinade packets from McCormick. Today I'm using the mesquite one, which is sort of like a barbecue flavoring. What I did was just poured the seasoning into a Ziploc bag, and I added water and oil per the package directions. I kind of squish it around a little bit to get everything mixed up and then put my chicken breast in. The great thing about this marinade is that even if you do it at the last minute, you can still just leave the chicken in the marinade for like 30 minutes to an hour and it will still have great flavor. I usually like to try and do it longer than that, but if you don't have time, that will work as well. I am also going to be grilling some New York strip steaks, and I'm using this Fresh Jack's Sunrise Cowgirl steak seasoning. This was actually really good. I would recommend it. I use a lot of Fresh Jack spices. They're all really, really good. I have many different kinds, and I do have a coupon code for their site, which I always have linked in my description box. So check that out. If you're interested in any of their spice blends, they have a ton of different unique ones. Pretty much anything you could want, they have on their site. But like I said, today I'm using that new one that I got for the steaks. I just put them in a Ziploc bag with the seasoning on both sides. They're really thick, so I season them pretty generously. And I also added a drizzle of olive oil in there as well. So the last couple weeks when I'm planning meals, I've really tried to focus on what I have in my freezer and pantry to base my meals off of first so that I'm not wasting any food. And I had several sweet potatoes in the pantry that needed to be used up. And so I just went ahead and cut those into fry shapes and put them on a baking tray, drizzled them with olive oil. You can peel them if that's your preference. That's definitely my preference, but you could also leave the peeling on as well. And then I just sprinkled them with some different spice rubs I had in the cabinet. I believe there was a barbecue rub and some garlic powder, and then those will roast in the oven. I'm also making this broccoli cheese bake that I picked up at Aldi. This was in the freezer section and it was new to us. We've never tried it before. I actually really liked it, but no one else in my family did. So I probably wouldn't pick it up again, but just keep in mind that you do have to bake it for a lot longer than the package directions say. I'm not sure if this is a seasonal item because I have not seen it at my Aldi since. I was also chopping up some veggies for a salad that you'll see here in a second. And then a lot of times when I make dinner, I always try to have fresh fruit on the side in case there's something that my kids don't like that I make, or maybe there's a veggie side that I make that they don't care for. There's always fruit for them to have. And so today I'm just washing up some strawberries and blackberries. Here is the grilled meat. Adam went ahead and cooked that out on the grill. It turned out super delicious. Here's that broccoli bake all cooked up. Let me know if you guys have tried that and if you liked it or not. And then the sweet potatoes, I roasted them into fries. And then here's a few sides that we had left over from the previous day. I just had like a copycat garden salad from Olive Garden and some pasta salad, and we kind of just picked on everything. So here's my plate. I had some of the steak and the chicken and the broccoli bake. Nice healthy dinner, and it's something that everyone enjoys. Okay, so next up, I'm going to make some homemade pizza for dinner. So if you've watched my What's for Dinner videos in the last couple weeks, I have tried some different recipes for homemade crust. And I had this hot roll mix. This is from Pillsbury. in my pantry, and there is a recipe on the back for cheese pizza. There's also a recipe for cinnamon rolls, which I've made the cinnamon rolls before and they're very good. So I definitely wanted to try the homemade cheese pizza. So inside this box comes with a bag of flour mixture, and it also comes with some yeast. And so essentially this is kind of like a ready to go dough base for whatever you want to use it for. So I put the flour mixture and the yeast in my KitchenAid mixer. I have that fitted with the dough hook. And then I also added some warm water and some olive oil. And I'm just going to use the dough hook to mix this together until everything is combined. And then it does say on the package also how long to knead it. Once the dough was kneaded, I turned that out into a glass bowl that I greased with cooking spray, and I have a proofing function on my oven, so I just use that. I cover it with a tea towel, put it in the oven, and it rises beautifully. So once that was done, I turned it out onto the counter. I sprinkled the counter with flour, and this one box will make two like 12-inch pizzas, or like two large pizzas. So I went ahead and separated the dough into two pieces, and then I'm basically just kind of trying to stretch the dough into a circle. So this is the part that I'm not very good at, is like stretching the dough out onto a circle and forming it into an actual crust. Like I said, I've been trying several different dough recipes. I'll have to let you guys know soon which one I think is the winner. But essentially what you're going to do is put this on a pizza pan, drizzle it with olive oil. I used a silicone brush to just distribute the olive oil all throughout the crust. And then I sprinkled it with some garlic powder. And this was actually on the package to do that. I think it gave the crust a really nice flavor. So with this pizza, I did want to go ahead and grate my own mozzarella cheese. I do find that that tastes better when you make homemade pizza rather than the pre-shredded kind. So I was also experimenting with using whole milk mozzarella cheese instead of the part skim mozzarella. I have to say, I do think I prefer the part skim mozzarella instead of this whole milk mozzarella, just because this ended up being a little bit greasier than the kind I normally use, so I probably won't go back to that. This pizza, I spread some marinara sauce on there. I'm using the Rouse marinara sauce. It's spelled R-A-O. It's a really good pizza sauce, rather, and I would buy it again. I think it's really good. It's kind of pricey, but besides making your own marinara sauce, it's probably the best that you can get in the store. I'm putting down a bed of mozzarella cheese, and then I'm also sprinkling just a little bit of freshly grated Parmesan over the top. One pizza, I think I did half cheese, half pepperoni, and then the other one I put meatballs on. So a couple nights before this, we had spaghetti and meatballs. And if you have leftover meatballs in the refrigerator, a great way to use them up is to slice them up and put them on pizzas. It's sort of like a sausage pizza, only it's kind of not, because it's a beef meatball, but either way, it is delicious. So I'm just using a small knife to slice these meatballs up thinly, and then I'm placing them on one half of the pizza. This is a great way to use up leftovers. Another great way to use up leftover meatballs is to make them into meatball sandwiches. That's really good as well, and I've done that quite a bit before too. So here's my first pizza before it goes into the oven. This one is pepperoni, and I put black olives on one half of it. And then the other one is cheese, so half cheese, half meatball. I like to bake these at quite a high temperature, so usually 450 or 500. And here is what they looked like when they came out of the oven. I have to say, these looked good, but honestly, this wasn't my favorite pizza crust that I've ever made, so I'll probably go back to my homemade recipe. Okay, so next idea I'm going to share with you is a dinner of grilled chicken wraps with some fries on the side. Nothing fancy. I just have a bag of the seasoned fries that I got from Aldi. If you can find these at your Aldi, they're really good. I just cook them in the oven until they're super crisp. I don't know about you guys, but I always feel like I have to cook fries way longer than the package says. Like it'll say cook the fries for 15 minutes, and I try to take them out of the oven and they're still like soggy and limp. And I like really crisp French fries, so I always cook mine for longer. I had some leftover chicken in the refrigerator, and this was actually leftover from the first dinner you saw me make when we grilled these mesquite chicken breasts on the grill. So I just heated these up in the microwave, and I'm using a sharp knife to cut these into really thin strips. The thinner that you can cut your chicken breast into strips, the more tender it will be. And I'm going to make some wraps out of these with some big tortilla shells. Okay, so I have my large tortillas. These are just the wrap size tortillas from Mission. I put down a piece of sharp cheddar cheese, and then I'm putting the grilled chicken on top of that. And then I'm just drizzling this with a little bit of barbecue sauce. This is Kira's, and she doesn't really like a whole lot of veggies on hers. And so I'm just keeping hers simple with the barbecue chicken and the cheese. You can add any toppings that you want to this. This one is going to be Connor's, and he likes a little bit more on his. So I'm going to start out again with some of the cheese, put the grilled chicken on there, top that with barbecue sauce, some lettuce, tomato, and some ranch dressing. I think the combination of the ranch and the barbecue sauce is really good together. And you can also make this with crispy chicken. If you have like leftover chicken nuggets or leftover chicken strips, or even if you want to cook them fresh or something like that. This is a super easy meal idea, and it's something I really like to make when I'm running short on time, when I get off work and I just don't want to deal with cooking something that's super complicated. Okay, so a few weeks ago in my grocery haul, I shared with you guys that I bought these Johnsonville sausage strips, and a couple people said that they wanted to see how they turned out. And so this was actually a breakfast that I made one morning for Connor, and so I thought I'd just film it and share it with you guys. These are basically just what they sound like. They have the texture of bacon, but it's sausage flavored. So if you like sausage, you'll definitely like these. And I have a everything bagel that I toasted here with an egg and a slice of American cheese. And I'm just going to put a couple of the sausage strips on that. And that is what Connor is having for breakfast this morning. He really loves breakfast sandwiches. I usually don't make them for him on bagels. I usually make them on either a toast or an English muffin, but it's one of his favorite things to have for breakfast, and he gave it a big thumbs up. So out of all the meals that I'm sharing in today's video, this one was probably our favorite. I have a turkey breast roast in my crock pot that I'm going to cook on low all day. So this is a turkey roast that I've had in my freezer for quite some time. I'm just kind of sharing with you guys the tag here. I can't even remember where I got this at, but I'm sure you can find something similar in your grocery store, even if it's in the freezer section. The original packaging said to cook this in the oven, but I did it in the slow cooker all day and it turned out just fine. On the side, I made some mashed potatoes. So I just have some russet potatoes that I peeled and rinsed, and I'm cutting those into kind of medium-sized chunks because I'm going to make these mashed potatoes in my Instant Pot. If you guys have never made mashed potatoes in your Instant Pot and you have an Instant Pot, I would totally recommend it. It's really hard for me to go back to making mashed potatoes on the stove now just because it's so convenient to make them in the Instant Pot, and then it has a warm function, keep warm, so that you can keep your mashed potatoes warm while you're waiting for the rest of your meal. I have a strainer basket inside my Instant Pot with my potatoes in there. I'm adding 1 cup of water, and then I will put the lid on. I will leave a link down below to the Instant Pot that I have along with this steamer insert basket. It's really helpful for making hard-boiled eggs too. I'm going to cook these potatoes on high pressure for 12 minutes. And then while that was cooking, I'm going to cut up some carrots. So one of my family's favorite sides is honey butter carrots. And every time I share this, I have people ask me for the recipe. And it's not even really a recipe. It's literally just boiled carrots, and then I put a pat of butter in there and some honey and some salt and pepper, and that's it. Nothing fancy, but it tastes really delicious. And like I said, everyone in my family loves it. So I'm just going to get these carrots peeled, and then I like to cut them into sort of like a large stick shape. If you don't have whole carrots on hand, you could also use baby carrots. I've done that a lot before too, but if you have carrots that you need to use up in your refrigerator like I often do, and you're tired of eating like carrots and hummus or carrots and ranch or something like that, this is a great way to use them up. I also wanted to mention that anytime I post a cooking video where I talk about the tools or supplies that I use in my kitchen, I try really hard to link all of the products down in the description box below. So if you guys have questions on what I use, you can check those out. Sometimes I do forget things or I'll miss one. So if you leave me a comment asking me that question, I will definitely try to add it. But I do spend a lot of time doing that. So hopefully you can always find what you need down in that description box. So I'm just going to finish cutting these up, and then I just put them in a skillet with like high sides, or you could do that in a pot as well with some water. I sprinkled some salt in there, put the lid on, and I don't necessarily have a time that these boil for, just until they're tender. One of the other reasons I like using the Instant Pot to do my mashed potatoes in is that I can use my hand mixer to mash the potatoes once they are done. So I just threw in some butter in there, some milk, a little bit of cream cheese, salt and pepper, and whipped those up. So here's what the turkey breast looked like after it cooked in the crock pot all day. I was really glad I cooked that in the crock pot because it turned out super tender. Here are the carrots with the honey and the butter. And then I also made a few packets of turkey gravy that I had in the pantry. Here's the honey I used for the carrots, and then my mashed potatoes. So I have to say, I don't know why I don't make turkey dinners more often, but these flavors were awesome together. And bonus, I had enough food left over to make lunch for us the next day, and the leftovers were just as good. Okay, so this next meal idea is similar to one that I shared before with chicken and steak, but this one I did have to cook inside because we were planning on grilling it, but it was raining that day, so we could not do that. For this chicken, I am using another one of the packet marinades, but this one is the just add juice kind, and so you don't have to add oil to it. You basically are just adding citrus juice. So I am juicing about 3 lemons to get half a cup of lemon juice. I see people buying bottles of lemon juice, and I've never been one to buy bottles of citrus juice. I always just buy like the fresh lemons and limes. So let me know if you guys do that or if you buy the bottled kind. Here is what the packet looks like. This is a lemon pepper seasoning, and it's really good. I've bought this before. I'm just going to whisk that up and then get it poured over my chicken. This marinade is also really good on pork chops, or you could also do fish or shrimp. I think if you're doing fish or shrimp, you definitely would not want to let it marinate for too long, or the flavor might be too strong, especially when you're using a lot of citrus juice in marinades. It can get overpowering. So here is what the chicken looks like in the bag with the marinade, and I just let that sit in the refrigerator for about 6 hours. And then I have 2 beef fillets. I put those in a Ziploc bag as well, and I don't marinate those, but I like to season them ahead of time. So I just season these with olive oil, and then I'm using some of the Fresh Jack's garlic herb seasoning. One of the reasons why I like their spices is because they are salt-free, so it means that I can add my own salt. Sometimes when I'm using spice blends that have salt in them, it's difficult for me to figure out how much to add. So I just like to add my own salt. That's what I prefer. So while those were marinating, I am going to get some potatoes ready to roast. This was another item that I needed to use up in my pantry. I had some of these small yellow potatoes. I had several different varieties. Some were more like fingerling potatoes and some were just some of the round small yellow potatoes. And so I scrubbed these and washed them, and I'm just cutting them into small cubes and putting them on a baking tray with a silicone liner. I decided to also roast some asparagus with these that I had gotten at the farmer's market, and this turned out so good. I don't think I've ever roasted asparagus with potatoes before, but I would definitely recommend it. So I drizzled some olive oil on that. I'm also using some more of that Fresh Jack's garlic herb seasoning, adding some salt and some pepper, and then I'll just get that tossed around and roast those in the oven. Okay, so like I said, we ended up having to cook this inside, so I'm going to roast my chicken breast in the oven. This is my new favorite way to cook chicken breast inside. I put it on a baking tray with some foil and I cook it at 425 or 450 degrees for 20 minutes, and it turns out perfectly every time. For the fillets, I'm going to sear these in my cast iron skillet, and then I'll go ahead and finish them in the oven. So I just have a little bit of olive oil in the pan. I heated that on high heat. And then you just want to sear your steaks on both sides until they are nice and crispy, and then just stick them in the oven for about 5 minutes or until they are done to your liking. So here I'm getting Connor's plate ready. He actually said this is one of the best dinners that I cooked in a long time, and would I please make it again for him soon. So I gave him some chicken and some steak, and then here's what the potatoes looked like after I got done roasting them. They turned out so good. There's the steak and then the chicken. Some of the marinade will burn to the pan, but that doesn't affect the flavor of the chicken. So here's a look at my plate. I had some steak and some chicken and the roasted veggies, and then I had this salad on the side with green goddess dressing. It was so good. I'll link the video down below where I made that dressing. Okay, so next up, I'm sharing with you guys a very decadent dessert. This is a recipe for Reese's peanut butter ice cream. So I don't know that I've ever made homemade ice cream before. I don't know that I've ever had an ice cream machine until now. I can tell you that I remember my grandpa and my dad making ice cream in the big ice cream machines where you put the ice and the rock salt in there. So good, and this did not disappoint. So in my mixer, I am beating up some peanut butter with some sugar, and then the recipe calls to add cream and milk and some vanilla. This recipe actually came with my ice cream maker. I bought a Cuisinart ice cream maker after I saw my friend Christine over at Frugal Fit Mom make some, I think she made raspberry sorbet or something like that. I can't remember. Christine, if you're watching, you'll have to tell me. But after I saw her make that, I was like, oh, by the way, I need that ice cream maker because I can't be left out of the ice cream making fun. So once I had that mixture mixed up, I poured it into a glass bowl, and then you do want to refrigerate that for about 1 to 2 hours. So here is the ice cream maker. I'll link this down below. It's pretty inexpensive, or it was at least when I ordered it on Amazon. It's been a while since I've ordered it, but essentially what you do is you put the bowl in the freezer and freeze that, and then that is what makes your ice cream cold or freezes your ice cream. So I poured the mixture into the machine. You put the kind of paddle down in there, and then you put that clear guard over it and just turn the machine on, turn it for about 20 minutes, and it makes really good soft serve ice cream. Now you can freeze this afterwards in a container, which is what I did to make it firm up, but you can eat it right out of the ice cream maker. It just depends on kind of what texture you like your ice cream to be. Okay, so add this to the list of things that I never knew before I started watching YouTube, but apparently some people call Reese's Reese cups. I have never heard this before until I started watching YouTube, and it seems like some people call them Reese cups. I have never heard of that before in my life. I'm from the Midwest and we've always called them Reese's cups. Either way, you need some chopped up Reese's cups for this recipe. So that is what I'm doing right now. Is it sort of like that thing where we call shopping carts and people in the South call them buggies, which by the way, that still cracks me up to this day. I feel like I want to call it a buggy because I feel like it's cuter. But anyway, after the machine is almost done churning the ice cream, you just want to add in your peanut butter cups, and here is what it looks like. Can you believe it? If you guys like peanut butter and chocolate or you like Reese's cups, definitely try this. Okay, so last but not least, I'm going to share with you not even a recipe. It's just a meal for BLTs and fries. And right now you're like, Jen, do you make fries 3 times a week? And the answer is yes. Sometimes I do make fries 3 times a week because you know what? You can pop them in the oven and bake them and the kids don't complain, and they're quick and they're cheap and they're good. So on this night, I didn't really feel like cooking much. I hardly ever put BLTs on my dinner meal plan, but it always seems like I make them at least once every couple weeks. Usually when I get off work and I'm like, yeah, I don't feel like cooking tonight, I'm going to make BLTs. So I had actually gotten these tomatoes from the grocery store and they were really good tomatoes. Sometimes I'm impressed by the quality of produce that comes out, even though it's not technically really tomato season here yet. But I just like to slice these fairly thin and then put them on a plate while the bacon is cooking. I also cook the bacon in the oven along with the fries. I do like to season my tomatoes with salt and pepper when I'm making BLTs. I think it makes it taste a lot better, but that's definitely a personal preference. I also needed to cut up some lettuce. I would have preferred to have iceberg lettuce with BLTs, but I had romaine, so I had to work with what I had. And this was sort of an undesirable head of romaine lettuce. It had kind of been sitting in my crisper drawer for a while, so I had to salvage what I could, but it ended up working out. I ended up having enough for our sandwiches. So I'm just going to get this pulled apart, and then I will wash it up in my trusty salad spinner. Okay, so here's my fries after they came out of the oven. I do like to also season them with salt quite generously. Most of the time when you buy fries, they are not seasoned unless they specify that they're seasoned. So make sure that you add salt so that they taste good. Here's my bacon that got nice and crispy in the oven. I know someone will ask me how long I baked that for, and like a lot of recipes, I just follow my heart, you guys. Like if I feel like the French fries are baking at 425, then I will bake the bacon at 425 and I just bake it till it's done. So that's probably what I did in this case. Also, do you like cheese on your BLTs? This is Kira's sandwich. She doesn't like lettuce or tomato, so she has bacon, turkey, and cheese. That's her sandwich. Next up, I'm going to make Connor's. I don't put cheese on his, but when I make mine, I do put cheese on it. So I have some toasted bread. I'm adding some mayo to both sides of that. Then I'm going to add some strips of bacon along with the lettuce and tomato. This is another meal that no one complains about. It's really easy and really good. And how can you go wrong with a BLT? So that is going to wrap it up for this week's What's for Dinner video. I hope you guys enjoyed this and got some ideas for your own family. If you're interested in more What's for Dinner videos from me, there are 2 here on the right hand side of the screen you can click on, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.